We got to talk about reading wars. I don't know if you really know that there is a war. It's always been a war. Because my method is better than his method, and his method is better than her method, and we should fight. It's interesting about all of the wars. Somebody actually told her husband to tell me, okay, she's probably like 25, and she was making sure I knew that there was a famous reading teacher in trouble for, I don't know what. And I should be aware of it. Like, okay, I am aware of that. She also wanted me to be aware that phonics has to be taught. And phonics is important. I don't know why you're talking to me that way, because I didn't actually say anything about phonics. I have never. In fact, this video, me saying phonics, is, I think it's the first time you can hear me say phonics out loud. Somebody asked me, well, don't you think that needs to be taught? And I'm like, of course it does. But I was actually just answering him because I felt sorry for him, because he was really obsessed and holding on tightly to his phonics. I don't want to talk about phonics. What I want to talk about is how things get put in. So let's say you were teaching phonics and you're like, oh my gosh, let's do it this way. And you approached it in this like exciting, positive way. That kid, I don't know what could happen if you did that. Maybe in 3 days' time, they're like walking out and know every single sound of every single letter. I don't know. There's probably about 3 million trillion factors that go into that. But what I can say is for sure, you don't know what will happen if you put in shame with phonics. You don't know what will happen if you put in embarrassment with books. You don't know what will happen if the child is reading out loud, and then the class laughs. You don't know what's going to happen. So that's what I want to talk about, is how things get put in. And that's what we should talk about. We should talk about how literacy, how reading, later we'll talk about math, how it gets put in. So 2 simple examples. One is, let's say you're making dinner for someone you actually love. And they go, it has too much salt. Think about how that affects you. Do you want to pick up their plate and scrape all of it into the garbage? Or do you just think, wait till next time, see how much salt I can put in there? I mean, do you like go, oh, I'm so glad for the information. I will make sure that I cook your food perfectly and put the perfect amount of salt. I mean, sure, there's lots of different options, and maybe there are a whole bunch of people that do that. But I don't think that's probably the most common response to, you put too much salt in my food. Does it make you want to make dinner again? Brings me to my point. So if I put in shame with the alphabet, does it make me reach for the book, the alphabet? Does it make me reach for it? No. If I reach for a cookie and someone says, you've had enough, or don't you think you've had enough? Love that question, because it's not a question. It's just shame wrapped up in a question. It stops my hand, right? And it affects my hand. It affects me. Now, shame and cookies go together. Does it make me not eat cookies? I don't know. I might eat them shamefully in my room. I mean, again, lots of options, right? Well, the reason we're talking about this is because I was told reading's difficult for some people. It's such a difficult concept. I'm like, okay. So I swear I tried so hard to figure out what was going wrong, right? Why do we have this literacy issue? And I'm telling you, the literacy issue is actually how things get put in. So another example, there's a bicycle over there. If I don't write it, you don't know if I can write it, actually. I have to actually write it. Now, let's say I hate bikes. Let's say when I was 7, my brother ran me over in the alley, and ever since then, I never rode another bike. It looks the same when I don't write it, whether I can or can't. If I don't choose to engage with the bike, it looks like I can't. See, reading is kind of confusing. We can't just measure it like we can't just measure it. I will make you a lovely video on testing, but not today. Today, I just want to talk about how it gets put in. And we really need to talk about how literacy gets put in. And we need to address how we approach it and how we approach the children. I mean, think about it. If I'm not riding that bike because my brother ran me over, and you bring me in every single day to practice riding that bike, what's really going on, right? I'm being harmed and harmed and reharmed and harmed again. And no one really knows if I can or cannot ride the bike. And there are many different ways to measure whether or not I can ride the bike. But we also won't get into that today either. I just really want to tell everyone, it really matters how we put in things, how we put in literacy, how we put in words, how we put in books. It matters a great deal. And that's what I want to talk about. Kind of like every day of 2025.